Modders made a PS5 laptop, Qualcomm won against ARM for now, and Nvidia continues to collect antitrust concerns like Pokemon cards coming up in RH News. Our first story comes from Weibo, reported by videocards.com. Modders from Notebook Review Studio in China made a PlayStation 5 laptop. They first started with a 3D printed chassis and a custom cooling solution. The shell of the laptop contains the original PS5 internals. The only differences in terms of the core components are the external power supply and the smaller SSD. In terms of the additions, however, a killer 4K 17.3-inch IPS panel with the full DCI-P3 coverage accompanies the PlayStation. Needless to say, this behemoth of a device is extremely thick and heavy, coming in at around 4.3 kilograms. And while we're talking about compromises, a huge one is the noise level. We mentioned the cooling system before. The noise level can reach up to 71.3 decibels, which for comparison is as loud as a dishwasher. Now we don't know whether it's under full load straight away or under full load after a couple of hours. Finally, the keyboard and the trackpad. Only a handful of PS5 titles support mouse and keyboard, so this is something to consider. I wish there was a full arcade-like controller base instead of a keyboard, but that would probably be beyond complicated. All of this is fine, I guess, because it's not a consumer device, but rather a unique art piece in my opinion. But the worst thing about this product by far is the name. Are you ready for this? It's called B-Book AI Original Edition.
That's a mouthful.
Why? Okay, B-Book I get, but why AI? Both of the articles didn't mention anything about the AI, and why Original Edition? Is there an unoriginal edition as well? So many questions, but I don't think I want any answers. If I had to take a guess, I would say they probably didn't speak any English, so it's something that probably happened in the translation. Or they just jumbled together some product words based on trends. Again, I can only speculate. The price is $2,750 US. That's a lot, and it could probably buy you 3 PlayStation 5 Pros and a gaming laptop. But still, just speaking from modding perspective, this is extremely impressive. As video cards point out, they don't have an official portal to buy from, which likely means you have to contact them directly. Anyways, let's move on to our next story. ARM sued Qualcomm a couple of years ago when Qualcomm acquired the company Nvidia. Nvidia had a license agreement with ARM, and ARM claims that the Snapdragon chips are a direct descendant of Nvidia designs, which were covered by the license agreement Nvidia had with ARM. But ARM argues that after the acquisition, they needed ARM's permission to use Nvidia's chip designs. They needed to renegotiate a new licensing term. Qualcomm was like, no, we don't. ARM sued Qualcomm, and the latter recently won in a trial against ARM. But it's not a slam dunk of a solution. Jury found that Qualcomm specifically didn't breach the licensing agreement. However, they couldn't decide whether Nvidia breached its licensing agreement or not. Needless to say, the door for retrial remained open, so ARM is seeking another trial. This is it in terms of news, and I was gonna give you my own 2 cents about this situation. But I think it's actually fascinating, the repercussions that stem from legal disputes like this. So I'm gonna try to make a separate piece on this. Our final story is extremely funny. Nvidia is at it again. According to Reuters, China recently launched an investigation into Nvidia's practices regarding the country's anti-monopoly laws. Experts say this could be a retaliatory move since the US is banning exports of chips to China left and right. Okay, first up, I wanna make it clear. US has done up shit, and it continues to do so. It shouldn't be looked up to as a utopia. In addition, Nvidia has also done their fair share of anti-competitive hijinks, which we covered in this episode. But really, China? You constantly used third parties to smuggle Nvidia's HBM cards for AI training, making up new business entities to do imports from the US. Huawei keeps trying to persuade the employees from TSMC, allegedly with 3 times the salary, to allegedly gain access to the confidential information. And what about instances of ripping off intellectual property? You're gonna take the moral high ground on this one? It's just very funny to me. Well, that wraps up this episode of RH News, guys. Tune in next time for another episode or a deep dive into something else. Thank you so much for your continued support. Please like and subscribe because
my timbers shivered.
This is Rocat. Catch you guys later.